Welcome back, everybody, to the Scripture Retreat. Today, I want to do a quick deep dive into Matthew 24, where Jesus lays out the most direct prophecy about the end of the age. But the thing is, there's something most people completely overlook. Jesus never says that wars, famines, or earthquakes are the signs that the end is coming. In fact, he says the opposite. While many teachers today are quick to point to those signs in the news, especially lately with the things going on with Israel, the real danger isn't the chaos in the world, it's the deception that's going on in the church. And I want to make sure that we're clear on this point, so we're going to take a closer look. Matthew 24 starts with a powerful statement, and Jesus says, "See that no one leads you astray, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray." The very first warning about the end is not a plague, it's not a war, not a political leader, it's deception. And not just from outsiders, but from those claiming to come in his name. And this should make us pause, because today, one of the most widely taught doctrines is something that Jesus never teaches in Matthew 24, a pre-tribulation rapture. So to get things started, I'm going to read through Matthew 24, and we'll break it down. Jesus left the temple and was going his way when disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. And he answered them, "You see all these? Do you not? Truly, I say to you, there will not be one stone left here upon another that will not be thrown down." And starting in verse 3, he says, "As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him and said, 'Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of the coming of the end of the age?'" You hear what he said? They asked, "What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And Jesus answered them, "See that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are yet not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places." And what are we seeing today? Exactly this, right? Famines, earthquakes, wars, more rumors of wars. So what does Jesus say? In verse 8, he says, "All of these are but the beginning of birth pains. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will rise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed through the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." Except, let's be clear about this. Wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nation, famines, pestilence, earthquake, they are the beginning of birth pains. They are not the end. They are not the signs of the end. Famines, pestilence, earthquakes, wars, nations rising against nation, all of these things have happened since the beginning of time. And Jesus is telling them that they will continue until the end of time. So then we continue on in verse 15. Jesus says, "So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down and take what's in his house, and let the ones who are in the field not turn back and take his cloak. And alas for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days. Pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. And then there will be great tribulation, such as not been from the beginning of the world until now, nor will ever be. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short." So, in verses 6 to 8, Jesus lists out what many people assume are the signs of the end: the wars, the rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, famines, pestilence, and earthquakes. But then he says all of these are the beginning of birth pains. They are not the end. They are the labor contractions before the real event begins. Many today are pointing to war in Israel, conflict in Ukraine, global instability, and saying, "See, the rapture must be near." But Jesus says, no, these are not the sign, not yet. Then Jesus gives the real warning, the real trigger to look for. He says, "When you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place," this is the first true event marker Jesus gives for the end. Not rumors, not famines. A concrete, visible event is the abomination of desolation. This phrase, abomination of desolation, isn't vague. Jesus roots it in Daniel, where he refers to a blasphemous desecration of the temple by a ruler who opposes God and claims to be God himself. In the modern world, this is often interpreted as the Antichrist standing in a rebuilt temple declaring himself to be God. Paul refers to this in 2 Thessalonians 2:4. And he says he takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God. Now, here's the question. If Jesus believed in a pre-tribulation rapture, why doesn't he mention it here? If the rapture were to happen before the tribulation, wouldn't Matthew 24 be the perfect time for him to say, don't worry, you'll be taken up before this? But he doesn't. He says, then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake, in verse 9. And then later he says, immediately after the tribulation, they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds, and he will send his angels out and gather his elect. That gathering, described as Jesus coming with the clouds and sending out his angels to gather the elect and the faithful, that looks a lot like what Paul describes in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. So look, we need to be honest here. Many preachers today teach that we'll be gone before anything bad happens, that the church will be raptured before the Antichrist appears. But Jesus says the exact opposite. He says many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. The pre-tribulation rapture may be one of the most dangerous false assurances in modern Christianity, because it teaches people they don't need to prepare for suffering, and it dulls spiritual urgency. And worst of all, it contradicts Jesus' own words. That, friends, is deception, the very thing Jesus warned us about first. If Jesus says the end will be marked by a great deception, then we need to ask, what is the lie that could fool even the elect? It isn't atheism, it isn't Islam, it isn't Satanism. It's a lie that wears the face of Christianity but twists its message. It tells people they'll be rescued before the testing comes. It tells people they don't need to be ready. But the truth is, we need to endure. We must be prepared to stand, and we must be ready, not for escape, but for faithfulness in the fire. Jesus ends the chapter with a call to readiness. Therefore you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. The days of Noah looked normal, until the flood came. Many will be caught off guard, not because they weren't warned, but because they believed a lie that made them complacent. We are called not to fear, but to faithful endurance. That's what's at the heart of Matthew 24. So let me ask you, are you preparing for deliverance before the storm, or are you preparing to be a light in the darkness? The signs are clear and the warnings are plain, and Jesus told us how it would unfold. The question is, to whom will you listen? If you found this helpful, give the video a like, drop a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.